After the Hinnom Valley is mentioned in Scripture as a dividing line between the tribal boundaries of Judah and Benjamin, its very next mention in the Bible is about 700 years into the future, in about 740 BC, when a righteous king of Judah named Jotham, the 12th king from David, tries to bring a halt to some of the idolatrous practices of his day. As part of a long list of righteous deeds, Jotham does the following. He also defiled Topheth, which is in the valley of the son of Hinnom, Ben-Hinnom, that no man might make his son or daughter pass through the fire for Molech. 2 Kings 23:10. What is Topheth and who is Molech? The key to understanding them both might come from Isaiah 30:33, which says, "For Topheth has long been ready. Indeed, it has been prepared for the king. He has made it deep and large, a pyre of fire with plenty of wood. The breath of the Lord, like a torrent of brimstone, sets it afire." Topheth is therefore literally the place of burning, an altar where the children were sacrificed. And Molech is a play on words. Did you notice the word king in the Isaiah passage? A king is a Melech. Thus Molech is a twisting of the word king. The O sound in Molech could derive from the word boshet, or shame, which is associated with Baal. Molech is therefore a shameful king. We don't know exactly who first brought the god Molech into the Hinnom Valley, but it could have been Solomon. 1 Kings 11:6 and 7 tell us, "Then Solomon did what was evil in the sight of the Lord, and did not follow the Lord fully, as his father David had done. Then Solomon built a high place for Chemosh, the detestable idol of Moab, on the mountain before or east of Jerusalem, and for Molech, the detestable idol of the sons of Ammon." 1 Kings 11:6 and 7. So if Chemosh was worshipped to the east of Jerusalem, it does leave open the possibility that Molech was worshipped in another location, and not in a high place, but in a valley. So it is possible that the worship of Molech had been happening in the valley of Hinnom for a very long time, more than 200 years, getting progressively worse. By the time Jotham defiled that place to prevent it from being used, children were passing through the fire for the god Molech. This practice is as bad as it sounds, even worse. When a child passes through the fire, they don't come out alive. Thus, the Hinnom Valley became the Valley of Death, not the Valley of the Shadow of Death, but literally the Valley of Death. What was entailed in passing through the fire? The practice probably went something like this. The child was brought to a flaming altar with the god Molech in the flames. The child is thrown into the fire, into the arms of the god Molech, while drums beat and tambourines shake to drown out any cries. And once the body is burned up sufficiently, it falls through the arms into the fire below, essentially into the belly of the god. What kind of children were sacrificed? The first children to go were probably the children that were born through intercourse with the female prostitutes associated with the god Molech. Because there was no birth control in those days, there was no easy way to prevent the birth of such babies. They were therefore expendable and used to feed the gods. But children of the general population could be sacrificed at the will of the parents. Why? It has been widely written in history that such sacrifices were to bring rain or other benefits to the community, or to appease the gods. But such general benefits could also be a smokescreen for a more personal reason: pleasure. When a person willingly gives over his or her body to the control of demons, it can happen that if the sin is wicked enough, that the forces of darkness will take pleasure in it and join with the person to activate their senses of pleasure. The goal then is to get that person hooked or addicted to that sick kind of pleasure, not unlike the pattern we see in serial killers today who must kill repeatedly. Satan has wanted to kill the seed of humans since he learned that God's plan for redemption would come from the seed of the woman. Thus, he will partner with mankind's flesh to find any reason, any excuse possible to kill human beings. Perhaps the reason that child sacrifice appears so many times in Scripture is that it is one of the main tactics of Satan to attack God's kingdom. The children don't really pass through the fire, they die. It is the child's soul that passes through the fire, not the body. Today, Satan's strategy is no different, only the tactics have changed. In Islamic culture, jihad can be the justification to kill children. In Hindu culture, wives are burned after their husbands die. In Western culture, the best way for Satan to remove children from the earth is through abortion, 50 million in the United States alone. We know today that after abortion, there is a strong sense of shame that often comes over the parents. It could not have been any different in the past. Perhaps this is also where the shame comes from in respect to Molech, the Molech, rather than Melech, the king. Today, parents who have participated in abortions need to come to God and grieve the loss, receive His forgiveness, and relief from the shame. Many stories are told of the souls of aborted babies being transported safely into heaven, stories told by those who visit heaven briefly and return. Satan may order the killing of the body, but the soul is in the hands of God. After Jotham cleaned up the valley, other kings of Judah would bring back child sacrifice to Molech. But the last word on this topic comes from God Himself. He says in Jeremiah 7 and also in chapter 31 that this act of His people to sacrifice their children to Molech was so far away from His will, His desire, that He says it did not even enter His mind or heart that His people would do such a thing. Is there any other statement from God in Scripture quite like this? To sacrifice children in a valley of Jerusalem is so far out of the bounds from God's plan, it can hardly be fathomed. It seems to be one of the final blows, if not the final blow, that precipitated God's decision to destroy the first temple and send His people into Babylonian exile. Let us ponder the immensity of such a sentiment from God. Until next time, when we return and begin to look at this valley in the time of the Second Temple. This is Bob Odell from Root Source saying, Shalom.